Today we are making crunchy fried mushrooms. Let's get started. This is a super simple recipe. Let's start by preparing the batter. Let's start with maida. This is 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of corn flour. I'm adding salt to taste, pizza seasoning or Italian seasoning. Let's give this a whisk. I've added approximately half a cup of water. And I'm going to add in a little bit of water at a time to turn this into a batter. And this seems like the perfect consistency. I have some button mushrooms right here. I've washed them completely and I've let them dry on a paper towel. Make sure you don't soak the mushrooms so that they don't absorb any water. Let's start with our super simple process. I'm going to add 5 mushrooms to our wet batter. Toss it around. And then add it to our breadcrumb mixture. Give this a good toss. And I'm going to repeat the process once again to make a thick coating. And then it goes into the breadcrumbs for the second time. A thick coating will ensure a lot of crunchiness. Toss it around. Rub it between your hands for a bit, just to ensure that the breadcrumbs are stuck completely, and then add it to some hot oil. Remove them from the oil once they are golden brown. Let's make some more. Crunchy fried mushrooms make for a great appetizer. Today I'm going to show you how to make chili garlic mushrooms. Let's start with our chili garlic paste. I've soaked 7 to 8 chilies overnight in warm water, which I'm going to add to the blender now. Next will be 7 to 8 cloves of garlic, little bit of salt to taste, and a tiny pinch of sugar to balance everything out. Let's blend this now. Our wok is nice and hot now. Let's add some oil to it. And our chili garlic paste is also ready. Let's add this to our wok. Let's cook our chili garlic paste for at least 3 to 4 minutes. Our paste is completely cooked now. Let's add some sliced onions to it. We'll cook the onions till they go soft. Our onions are softened now. Let's add in our sliced mushrooms. We'll cook the mushrooms till they leave all the water. So we're going to season the mushrooms now, just with a pinch of salt. One last mix.
And the recipe for the day is mushroom stroganoff. Let's begin. Let's begin the recipe with a little touch of oil because you do not want the butter to get burnt. And that brings us to the next important ingredient, salted butter. It's a very rich recipe, which is soft, it's brown, it also has sour cream, so it has that wonderful tenderness to the whole sauce, and that will of course come with sour cream. Now of course we are not going to use sour cream in this recipe, but I'm going to show you how to acidulate your cream at home. Sounds quite technical, but don't worry, we'll come to it. Allow the butter to start melting, and while that's happening, let's quickly slice a red onion. This recipe classically has a lot of ingredients. It has red onions, it has some garlic, it has Worcester sauce, it has flour, it has sour cream, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. But what I'm doing is I'm making it very typically home style with mustard powder and things like that. You'll of course realize it. What I'm going to do is make it in a certain way that I've been making it over the years, because I think I find it easier that way. Also, the ingredients are all available in your kitchen pantry, so you do not have to go all out looking for them. Let's push the red onions, which are now sliced, into the pan. We want this to beautifully caramelize, because that's where the color of this dish would come from, which is that light brown in the cream. Caramelization of onions, especially in this recipe, are extremely important, because that's where you get that beautiful light brown tone to the acidulated cream, which eventually becomes the signature color of this recipe. Stroganoff, remember? A lot of people also confuse this recipe with a goulash, but a goulash is very different. Goulash is a stew, stroganoff is a sauce. So I think for beginners, this is quite a distinct differentiation, and I think you should stick with it rather than getting confused. Allow the onions to turn golden brown in color. Let's move on to the next core ingredient, and they are mushrooms. Now in this case, I'm using a combination of button mushrooms and portobello mushrooms, because these are available where I live. You can by all means go all out and use the different kinds of mushrooms, bring in your oysters and shimijis and things like that, and go all out and wild. Let's cut these. When I say cut, I just mean thick slices. Also, you want the mushrooms to retain that bite even after they get sauteed and cooked, because you do not want them to kind of get disintegrated in the cream or the sauce. So good thick cuts of mushrooms. Once the onions get caramelized, the next step is to also throw in the mushrooms and ensure that they also get that wonderful caramelized bottom, and then we kind of flip it or toss it. And we can go all out and just bring in that wonderful caramelized color. The mushrooms are cut and ready. Let's transfer all of this in the caramelized onions. Need to stir this on high flame, because on low flame the mushrooms will start releasing its internal moisture, and you do not want to sauce it up at this stage at least. No salt, nothing, because you do not want to draw out the moisture at any stage. Just ensure these are spread like so, and they take the entire surface of the pan or the wok. This entire mixture has beautifully caramelized. It's got that tinge of brown, which is of course required for this recipe. And if you see, it has also taken the color right here. Now all this color, the moment you add in the cream and water, is all going to get drawn back to the bottom, and that's where the color of the stroganoff becomes what it should be. Let's stir this well. At this stage, I'm going to add in mustard, and in this case, mustard powder. Now, because this is mustard, of course, in its powdered form, it's going to be extremely strong. So just a little bit of mustard powder. In case you have your Dijon mustards and your English mustards and your mustard paste and things like that, go all out and put that to use. I'm adding in a touch of soy sauce. Well, this in a lot of ways is not required in this recipe. Traditionally, you're supposed to add in Worcester sauce. Now, because we may not have Worcester sauce in our homes, because it's not one of those regularly used ingredients, I'm adding in soy sauce, because soy sauce is generally available. This will also help in bringing that wonderful color to the sauce. The next ingredient is what's going to define the entire base and the silken nature of this recipe, and that is cream. Now this is dairy cream, it's fresh cream. Traditionally, we're supposed to use sour cream and a touch of Greek yogurt. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to acidulate this cream. I'm going to add in an acid. In this case, lemon juice. We stir this well, and this is how you can make your acidulated cream at home. Let's add this into the mushrooms. Well, in case you have sour cream, by all means, please go ahead and use that. And also, maybe like a tablespoon of Greek yogurt. We start stirring this, and while stirring, we also need to ensure that we start scraping the sides and the bottom of the pan. That's where all the flavor is. Once this is mixed well, we're going to add in water. And this is purely to kind of adjust the consistency and bring in that balance in the sauce. Let's go easy with the salt, because acidulated cream may also feel salty. I say feel salty because it's going to be kind of sour, and sometimes while we eat, we kind of forget the difference between sour and salty. So go easy with the salt, especially in this recipe. Stir this well. And lastly, freshly cracked black pepper. The moment you add in water, you'll also realize that the sides where the mushrooms and onions were kind of bringing in that color will start releasing naturally. And that's the whole idea of a beautiful stroganoff. Freshly cracked black pepper. The color of this stroganoff literally needs to be like a cappuccino in a cup with that dusting of cocoa powder on top. A quick stir. Allow this to boil for precisely 30 to 40 seconds. And with this, your stroganoff sauce is done and ready. Well, ideally in this recipe, when you're sauteing the mushrooms, you could also add in like a half a teaspoon of refined flour or whole wheat flour. Saute that so that this eventually also thickens up. I do not like it because I like to keep it gluten-free in a lot of ways. So I like it like that, but if you like the sauce thicker, of course. With this, mushroom stroganoff is done and ready. And this goes amazingly well with a bowl of steamed rice. And of course, if you can add some parsley to it, there's nothing better than that. So Methi, mushroom, Matar, Malai. Let's begin. Let's first make a paste with raw onions. To this, I'm going to add in cashew nuts, whole green chilies, 3-4 of them, because of course we want this to be spicy as well. A couple of green cardamoms, cumin seeds, paste of ginger and garlic, and finally to this, powdered garam masala. Let's grind this into a fine and smooth paste. Let's turn the flame on and add in some oil. Of course, you can also begin with ghee or butter. I prefer oil. Let's add in the ground spice paste while the oil is still just about warm. Do not add this in hot oil, otherwise this will splutter all over the kitchen. Let's stir this well. Lower the flame and allow this to cook for around 8 to 10 minutes. Intermittently, of course, you can also keep stirring, ensuring that this does not burn at the sides and the bottom of the pan. All we need to ensure is that the onions and the other ingredients are cooked perfectly without any raw flavor, taste or aroma. If you see at this stage, it's released its wonderful green chili oil. Let's add in our vegetables and other ingredients. Let's begin with garden peas, fresh frozen, choice is completely yours. Mushrooms, halved or quartered depending on the size. And finally, fresh fenugreek leaves. Again, by all means, you could use kasuri methi if that's the only option. Time to add in a cup full of water to ensure that all of this starts cooking well, and of course it also adjusts the consistency. Now, because this recipe has cashew nuts, you may want to add in a little more of the water, because by the time this cooks, it'll be perfect. To this, to add into that extra creaminess, I'm adding in cream, salt right towards the end, depending on how much actually is really needed. One quick stir and allow this to cook on medium to low flame. After adding in all the ingredients, all we do is bring all of this together, mix this nicely, Cover this and keep it on medium flame for at least 12 minutes for everything to cook perfectly and become almost a mixture that's tasty. Imagine all the M's coming together. Malai, Methi, Matar, mushroom. What else do you need? Maybe a Malabari paratha?
I'm going to start with grinding a few ingredients. I have some chopped onions, ginger, garlic, red chili powder, roasted cumin seed powder, garam masala, and now grind this into a smooth paste. This is done. Let's get this out. In a pan, I'm going to heat a little bit of ghee. Once the ghee is nice and hot, I'm going to add some chopped green chilies. Next, I'm going to add the onion paste. Saute the onion paste for 2 to 3 minutes. And next I'm going to add in some tomato pulp. For this I've blanched the tomatoes and peeled off the skin and half churned it. Cook this very well for at least 4 to 5 minutes. The tomato pulp is dried out nicely and now I'm going to add some fresh cream. Mix it well. Add a dash of water and let this gravy boil for 2 minutes. And some coriander leaves. Salt to taste. The gravy has been boiling for 2 minutes and now it's ready. I'm going to get it off the flame. In another pan, I'm going to heat some butter. Once the butter is melted, I'm going to add some capsicums and some sliced mushrooms. Let this cook for 2 to 3 minutes. The mushroom is nicely cooked and now I'm going to add it into this gravy. Give it a stir. And this mushroom butter masala is ready to plate.
Today we're making mushroom bao. Let's see how to make them. So we're going to start by making the dough of the bao. Let's begin with some warm milk, a little bit of warm oil, pinch of salt to taste. We're adding this to the warm milk so that it melts. Just a little bit of sugar, around half a teaspoon. Next we're adding in all-purpose flour and a small pinch of baking soda. You can also use baking powder instead. I'm going to use a spatula to just bring the dough together. I'm going to switch over to my hands and start kneading the dough. It's so easy to knead any kind of dough on the counter, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. You'll have to knead the dough until it becomes nice and smooth. This should take around 7 to 8 minutes. This dough is actually really tough, so if you need to add a few drops of water, do that. You will need to knead it for 7 to 8 minutes and the dough should be super smooth from the top when you try to make a ball out of it. Now we are going to rest this for up to 30 minutes. Let's make the filling for our bao now. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of oil. To this, now I'm going to add some green chilies. I'm making mushroom chili and I'm using green chilies here today, but you can also use red chilies if you like. Now to this, I'm going to add some chopped ginger and some sliced garlic. Once the mixture turns aromatic, add in your sliced mushrooms. And now we're going to cook this on high flame. Once the mushrooms start to soften naturally, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Next, I'm going to add in some onion cubes and some capsicum. Once the onions soften a little, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of soy sauce, this is dark soy sauce, and around 1 tablespoon of mushroom sauce, little bit of salt, and we'll let the sauce evaporate and coat all the veggies properly. Mushroom sauce has a very umami flavor, but in case you can't find it or you don't want to consume it, you can also use any other stir-fry sauce of your choice. Once the sauce has evaporated, turn off the flame and add in some fresh spring onion greens. It's been 30 minutes and our dough is well rested. Now we're going to shape it into bows. I'm just taking it out on the surface and I'm going to cut this into 4 equal portions. Just use a sharp knife to do the same. Now I'm just going to fold in the softer side inside. Apply a little bit of oil on the surface. And now we're going to roll it into an oval shape. Now we're going to close this and form a semicircular shape. And we're going to steam it later. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other portions as well. I have a steamer going on right here. I've kept some water for boiling and it seems like it's ready. Now it's time to steam our buns. Just directly going to place it. And we're going to steam this for 12 to 15 minutes till they are nice and fluffy. If you add a pinch of yeast in the dough as well, it becomes super duper fluffy and soft. But we've tried to make it without yeast today. Let's check on the bows. They've changed their color. From being white and opaque, they've become a little translucent and they are completely done now. We can take them out directly onto a plate. Use a knife to loosen it up if required. And now it's time to fill them with our mushroom chili mixture. If you're bored of eating the same old starters, try out these mushroom baos. I'm sure you're going to love it.